Hey guys, my name is Ismas and welcome to another Blender Daily Tip, and today we're going to be looking at how to make this time travel stroke time machine effect that you see here. Let me just play it back for you. So we have some sparks going in, and then we have that effect. This is the effect we're going to be concentrating on. Maybe I'll make another tutorial on how to make the sparks, but we're going to be making this kind of wobbly effect. And you can see, if you look closely, it's also distorting everything behind in a kind of refractive way. So yeah, if you want to get this model that I made here, you can just go and download it on Patreon. You have to be a Patreon for that. And if you want to watch the entire process of modeling and texturing this time machine, you can just go subscribe to my second channel, Blender Money, and you can watch all the advanced tutorials that I have there. And yeah, so let's get on that and see how we can make that. So I'll just open up a new Blender project here. So then let the default cube. I will add a circle, a curve circle. You don't need to use a mesh, and then give it some volume by going to the curve settings, and under geometry you should find the bevel settings and give it some depth. Not a lot, something like that maybe. And then in the modifiers we're going to use the wave modifier. So by default it will just give you that. Let me rotate it so that it's facing us in the Z, like that. By default it will just give you that bouncing effect, but when you switch on normals you will have kind of that pulse effect then. And now you can change a few settings here. So if you play with the position, you can get that bouncy effect. So there's a lot of settings you can play around with and get different results. You can also add a texture. So let's say you want to add more details in here. You can come in and add a cloud texture, and you can see, I think this can also be used as to create an alien kind of effect look, or a heartbeat, whatever. But I think, yeah, we can go with this. But if you're seeing that you have a lot less resolution here, you can go to the curve settings and try to play around with the bevel. With the bevel resolution here, that should increase your resolution. And also the preview resolution will give you more resolution on the object, but make sure you don't put it too high. Your computer might get laggy if you're going to be using a lot of these effects. So that's how you can make the bouncing effect, or the pulsing effect, whatever you want to call it. Now if you want to rotate it, you can just rotate the object itself, or let's go into the settings here. You can come in and play with different settings here to just see how things look. You can play with the speed, just how fast the pulsing is, and see the amplitude or height of the wave, how frequent these pulsing are. You can see this is a bigger wave, but we want something like this, and maybe it should only be in from one axis to another. So maybe, yeah, so if you want it to go from up and down, you can change the values here to see what you want. Now let's go to the materials and play with those and see what we get. So this is what we have here, and I don't know, what should I use? Let me add an HDR image here in the background. So I'll add an environment texture and navigate to my HDR images, just to have something in the background to refract. So to make the effect we are going for, I want to, let me see, let's first preview what we had. You can see it was glowing and yeah, refractive as well. So for that, we can start by creating a new material and removing this printboard BSD. We're not going to use that. We're going to use the refractive shader. Where is that? Refraction shader. And then we're going to use the emission shader. So if we just preview the emission, you can see it just gives us the emission. But because the background is also bright, we are not seeing the effect here. So I'm just going to reduce the strength by quite a bit so that we can see the effect of our emission. Maybe let me give it a more power, and also change the color a bit to a bluish color to give it the glow that you see on here. Let me remove this background. To give it that glow, we can go in the render settings and turn on bloom. You can see we don't see any details in here because the entire mesh is emitting light. So we can use the refraction here and mix it with the emission. So if we look at the refraction, you just see what we are refracting. And if we had objects in the background, so let's add a Suzanne monkey here in the background, you can see we are not seeing it through the refraction like we are seeing these objects through the refraction. Let me zoom in a bit, moving closer. I don't know if you can see, but we are also refracting the objects behind. So to make that possible, what you would do is under the render settings, turn on screen space reflections, and then turn on refractions, and that should do it. Or if it doesn't, I'll go under the material settings for the object and turn on screen space refractions. I think the refraction is a bit too much, so I think you can play around with the depth. You can see now we see the other mesh through the other side. So be careful with the depth here because you can see it can kind of remove the effects we are going for. So I think around 7 was good. Let's see if without the refraction. I think I like it at 0. It refracts better at 0, so I'll leave it at that. And now to mix the refraction and the emission, we can add a mix shader and connect this. So currently we're just using the slider to mix between the refraction and the emission. But if you look at the example we had here, only different parts we are emitting and other parts we are refracting. So to achieve that effect, we're going to need a mask, and the best mask I think to use here is the Fresnel or layer weight mask. So with this we can create a black and white mask. I'm going to use facing instead of Fresnel because it gives you a more contrast mask rather than the Fresnel. And just to have more control, I'm going to add a car ramp and give it even pump up the contrast even more. So now I can use this as my mask or factor, and you can see we have the refraction, the emission on the outside, and the emission on the edges, as you can see. But it's too, how would you call it? It's too kind of smooth. If you see the example you have, I had some kind of palettes inside there. So the way I did that is by using a noise node. So a noise texture, noise. By the way, if you're wondering how I'm previewing each node here, I'm using the Node Wrangler add-on. If you have that enabled, you can use Control Shift click any node to preview that node. So this is what we're previewing right now, the noise. But I want it to be more contrasty, so I can add a convert color in between here to make it, to have it more contrast. So if I use this as the mask, now we have this kind of effect, but we are losing that ring on the edge of the object, which was created by this layer weight or fractional effect. So I'm going to mix these two using a convert math node. Have this connected to this and this connected to this. So let's first preview the mask. You can see the edges are getting that bright emission light, and we also have some blobs in here, so we can control them by doing this. And so this is how, and now we can use this as our factor, and yeah, so I think the emission is a bit too dull, so I'll just give it a more brighter effect, more strength, and this is what we have. And if you wanted, you can animate the scale or add vector coordinates to this. So Ctrl T if you're using the Node Wrangler to add the texture coordinate mapping, and animate either the rotation or location. So let me bring up the timeline here. Then let's animate the rotation just at that keyframe. I don't know if I'm not seeing whether those keyframes have been added, and let's see. And it's okay. So yeah, see, it's animating but very slowly, so we can boost the keys. I'm not sure why I can't see those keyframes on the timeline here. So let me see under keying, what are we seeing here? View. I think you have to select the node. Let's go under the graph and see if we can see those. Show sliders, show seconds. Okay, I'm not sure why I can't see my keyframes, but as you can see, they are being animated. So I'll just come in here and push another value up so that we have faster animations, and you can see we have that effect. And the great thing about this, you can just apply it to any other object, and you can see how that looks. And if you wanted, you can also give this a wave effect, and yeah, maybe even add our texture there. Yeah, so again, if you want to support me, and you can become a Patreon and get access to this model and this project and all the other projects that I've been uploading. Thank you for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, and you can also go watch these more advanced time-lapse and videos on my second channel, because top channel 1-on-1 is going to be mainly for step-by-step tutorials, easier step-by-step tutorials. This channel will be for more advanced Blender stuff. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video.